Join us at Women of Courage and celebrate the achievements of women. In the upcoming months, I am going to change our format significantly. This year, we will exhaust three subjects: breast cancer in black women, voting, and the subjects for black men. Each of these ideas and subjects is essential for the black community. Our survival depends on the health of black women, our willingness to vote, no matter what, and the fortitude and determination of black males to develop. We might as well face it, the survival of any community depends on the mental and physical health of both the female and male. Children need both their father and mothers, and the community needs happy, substantial families to survive. No culture can survive without either. I want you to join me in our discussions. I want women to realize that the survival of their children is the only proof that they ever existed. Think about what I just said. Your children are the only proof that you ever existed on this earth. So when you are careless about your health and die before your time, the survival of your children is greatly reduced because they will be placed in foster care where they can be abused mentally and physically. I want men to join in learning about breast cancer and try to save the lives of their mothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, and grandmothers. I want men to begin to listen to subjects that can greatly improve their lives. I am going to play certain speeches regarding the need to vote. There will be speeches of Obama, Stacy, Abrams, and others. I am also going to discuss Shirley Chisholm, Constance Baker Motley. She is the first African American woman to ever become a federal judge. All in all, I hope you will enjoy the new format and be greatly encouraged in your life. Also, thank you for listening and growing with us. Hello, this is the Women of Courage show, and I am Gloria Lee, your host. For the most part, almost all of our broadcasts are dedicated to trying to get men and women to focus their attention to changing their behavior to live a better life. You must understand your change is essential to the well-being and survival of your children. We want children to avoid the profession of prostitution and living a life in prison. When you change, you will see the possibilities available to you. You do not have to continue to live a life that you hate and a life that you are truly ashamed of. Poverty does not have to define you. Let your strength and perseverance define you. You can listen to us at home, in your car, or at work on your lunch hour. It is essential that you get a daily dose of encouragement every day. Just a few minutes a day of listening to us can make learning effortless. You can even listen to us while you're preparing dinner or just as you are about to fall asleep. We want you to fit our broadcast into your day. This is why we put all of our broadcasts on the YouTube channel Touched by the Light Publishing. Our goal is to inspire you to greatness. So give Women of Courage a listen to throughout the week, and please support us by purchasing a book today from our website, touchedbythelight.us. Thank you.
Talking about the Georgia bill, help me understand. And I'm not interested in a 30,000-foot view. That's not meant to be a criticism. I'm speaking to myself, I guess. I'm not interested in platitudes. Tell me, you're against the Georgia bill, I gather. Is that right?
I'm against certain provisions of it, yes.
Okay, and I think you've called it a racist bill. Am I right?
I think there are provisions of it that are racist, yes.
Okay. Tell me specifically, just give me a list of the provisions that you object to.
I object to the provisions that remove access to the right to vote, that shorten the federal runoff period from 9 weeks to 4 weeks,
Okay.
that restrict the time that a voter can request and return an absentee ballot application, that eliminate
Slow down for me, because our audio is not real good here.
Certainly.
Could you start over for me?
Certainly.
Thank you, ma'am.
It shortens the federal runoff period from 9 weeks to 4 weeks.
Okay.
It restricts the time a voter can request and return an absentee ballot application.
Right.
It requires that a voter have a photo identification or some other form of identification that they're willing to surrender in order to participate in the absentee ballot process.
If I can stop you, that's where they're going to not comparing signatures, but to voter ID?
Yes, sir. And as
Okay.
Ms. Eiffel has pointed out, we would become only the 4th state in the nation to require voters to put
Yes,
at
ma'am.
risk their identity.
What else? What else?
It eliminates over 300 hours of Dropbox availability.
Okay, what else?
It bans nearly all out-of-precinct votes.
Bans what? I'm sorry?
It bans nearly all out-of-precinct votes.
Okay.
Meaning that if you get to a precinct and you are in line for 4 hours and you get to the end of the line and you are not there between 5 and 7 p.m.,
Okay,
you
what
have
else?
to start all over again.
Is that everything?
No, it is not. No, sir. It restricts the hours of operation because it now, under the guise of setting a standardized timeline, it makes it optional for counties that may not want to see expanded access to the right to vote. They can now limit their hours. Instead of those hours being from 7 to 7, they're now from 9 to 5, which may have an effect on voters who cannot vote during business hours during early voting. It limits the
Okay, I get
hours.
the idea. I get the idea.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Let me approach this another way. If a state decides to require a voter to prove who the voter says he is or she is, do you consider that racist?
Not at all, sir. Voter identification has been a part of the American theory of democracy almost from the beginning.
You're okay with it?
I support voter identification, yes.
Okay. How about ballot harvesting? And I heard earlier you were talking about letting the tribal elders collect ballots. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where the parties, and believe me, both parties will do it and probably are doing it, pay operatives to go out and help people with their ballots and collect their ballots. Are you okay with that, or are you against that?
I don't think it's an either-or situation. I think it depends on what the conditions are, what the rules are, but making it easier for those who want to participate in elections to do so with safely and securely, I think it's
So you're okay with ballot harvesting?
No, sir, I did not say that. I said, because that is a term of art that encompasses a wide range of behaviors, and even your
I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get down from the platitudes and understand what you're for and against.
But sir, what I'm
help me with this. Let's suppose that the Republican Party wanted to hire people to go out and knock on doors of voters and say, have you voted yet with your mail ballot? And they say no, and then the operatives are told to contact the voter and say, let me help you with your ballot. If you have any questions, I can even suggest who you might want to vote for. And after you vote, I'll collect the ballot for you and you make it easy. Is that okay?
Sir, I'm both an attorney and a former legislator, and it is not simply the words that you're saying.
I'm an attorney and a current legislator, and I might
Yes,
want to
sir.
trade places with you. But keep going.
And so my point is, as you and I both know, that the context, the rules, and the structure matters. Now, in the very narrow circumstance that you just described, if there are no controls and if it turns into buying votes, Of course I object to that.
Okay.
But if you look at the piecemeal components that you're describing, and if we are talking about how do we make it easier for voters to participate in elections, I'm not certain what that looks like, but what you described in this very specific and narrow construct, it sounds like you're in violation of a number of different rules, not the least of which is buying a vote.
All right, let me ask you one last question. Our chairman's really indulged me here. Do you think it was a smart thing for President Biden to do when he called everybody who supported the Georgia bill a racist?
I think that this bill is grounded in racial animus. I think that the language that we are using to describe.
Can I ask you how you know that, madam? I mean, honestly, that's an honest question. How do you know that?
Because for 15 years, the Republican Party of Georgia not only sanctioned but celebrated its vote by mail provisions. It was only after voters of color for the first time in 15 years successfully used those provisions in favor of the party that they disproportionately support that those rules changed. It is that for years, for more than nearly 2 decades, we had early voting hours that supported voters that were perfectly fine. It was only after communities of color used those provisions in.
But why doesn't that hurt black people and white people and brown people? This is what I'm trying to.
I think it hurts everyone. If you watched me, I fought for the right to vote for every person.
I agree.
No one is entitled
But that's
to
a
victory.
long way from the president calling people a racist because they support a state.
Sir, I'm responding to the question you asked me. My point is that when your motivation is grounded in the race of those who are engaging in behaviors that you disagree with, that is racist, particularly when it is targeted at communities of color by people in power.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. The chairman's have gavelled me. I just need to ask, how do you know that's what they meant?
Because we asked them not to do it because we showed them what the effect was, and they refused to answer, and they refused to abide. I've worked with these people for 11 years. I don't believe that every single person who supported this bill has deep racial animus in their hearts for all purposes, but for the purposes of voting rights, when racial animus is your predicate, then yes, you should be held accountable and those bills should be stopped.
I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Now for my break.
My belief in the responsibility to fight voter suppression started when I was growing up. My parents were both civil rights activists as teenagers in Mississippi. My dad was arrested signing people up to vote when he was 16. And my mom used to take us with her when she would pick us up from school on election days. She would take us with her to vote. There's 6 of us, so we look like make way for ducklings, like spilling out. But we were raised to understand that voting is directly tied to the services and policies that you want to see. Voter suppression acts as a means of denying those policies reality, and it is baked into the DNA of America. It has been perfected in recent years, in the last 2 decades, in a way that lets us forget that it's real because it has so many pieces, and that's the architecture. Voter suppression isn't simply saying you can't vote. Voter suppression is both a physical activity, but it's also a psychic effect. Telling people their votes won't count, telling people that the system is rigged, has the act of actually stopping people from trying to use it. And then just to make sure it works, there is the actual apparatus. And I think about it in 3 ways. There is the registration access, making it difficult to get on the rolls. You cannot vote in the United States unless you are signed up to do so. It's like having a driver's license. And so what we have found is that depending on the state you're in, there have been impediments put in place to registration. If you're in Texas, they tell third-party organizations it's difficult to register you. That matters because the hardest to register communities are communities of color, newly registered citizens, and low-income communities. They require third parties to come to them because they often don't know how to do it on their own. In Georgia, we had sort of the trifecta of it was hard to get on the rolls because the Secretary of State kept raiding the offices or attacking those who were doing third-party registrations. He then used what's called exact match, which said that if your name has any error when someone is typing it into the system, that would be a predicate for denying you the right to vote. And in Georgia in 2018, 53,000 people were caught up in this bureaucratic nightmare. So let's say your last name is Del Rios, and you spell it DEL space RIOS. Is that your last name? Under Georgia law, or not Georgia law, but Georgia's practice on your driver's license, they take out the space. So that becomes the database that is used. But your parents named you Del Rios with a space. So you put in your name the way it is on your birth certificate and on your Social Security card. But in Georgia, because the Driver's License Administration does not recognize the space, you are denied the right to vote because it does not exactly match the database. 53,000 people were denied, 90% of whom were people of color. The third part is that if you were a naturalized citizen, there were some parts of the Secretary of State's office that were demanding that you use your alien registration number as part of your application. It is against the federal law to use your alien registration number because you're no longer an alien. You are now a citizen. And so in order to achieve the right to vote, you were being denied access. So registration is the first. And then there's the use it or lose it laws. That's the Ohio case that was just settled by the Supreme Court. In the United States, we do not have mandatory voting. Use it or lose it laws were originally designed to say that if you're dead or you've moved, you probably shouldn't vote where you used to live. That makes sense. But it's now been used to say if you don't vote in a certain number of successive elections, that can be used as a reason to take you off the rolls. But the problem is it's not precise. And so you have hundreds of thousands of people who are removed from the rolls who voted. And they don't find out they've been removed until they go to vote. But because most of these states don't do same-day registration, you're just denied the right to vote. So that's the first piece, registration. Second is ballot access. Ballot access is you, in states that have absentee balloting, you apply for an absentee ballot. It may or may not arrive. Jermaine Dupree, who's so deaf, he had to fly his daughter from Miami because her absentee ballot, which she applied for, never showed up. Jermaine Dupree ain't my daddy. So if you do not have someone who is wealthy enough to actually fly you home to vote, you've been suppressed because your right to vote has been denied because you didn't get your absentee ballot. If you live in Mississippi or Alabama, you may have to pay a notary public to verify that you have submitted your ballot properly, which means you have to pay someone for the right to vote. So ballot access becomes an issue. It also is an issue with early voting, moving polling places. Georgia has about 3,000 polling places, precincts. They shut down 214 of them. If you live in a county where there are only 2, and now there's 1 and you don't have a car, and the one that you used to go to is down the street and the one you have to go to now is 5 to 10 miles away, you're not going to be able to vote because you don't have a car. And so ballot access becomes an issue. And then the third is counting the ballots. And I just referred to that as the Florida problem.
I'm sure the people in Florida are very happy to hear that.
I mean, they've been the most constant example of this. But that is once you submitted your ballot, did it actually count? Did they count did they actually process it? In Georgia, we had to go to court 4 times in the 10-day period between Election Day and the day of my non-concession speech. And we got 3.5 verdicts. Yes, we got 3.5 verdicts in our favor. And part of that was that certain counties were throwing out absentee ballots because the signature didn't match. My signature doesn't match from Kroger to Wells Fargo. And they were matching it against your driver's license that you signed 10 years ago before you actually figured out how to do the curly S that you liked. So that was being used to deny people the right to vote. They were throwing out absentee ballots because people put the date in the wrong place because there are 2 lines that said date. One was birth date and the other was the date that you were submitting it. But it didn't say birth date and date of submission. It just said date. And certain counties were denying the right to vote. And so across the country, that ballot counting becomes the issue. So registration, ballot access, and ballot counting, that's how suppression works.
I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Now for my break. Hello, this is Minister Gloria Lee from the Women of Courage show. I want you to prepare to vote. That is correct. I want you to make up in your mind, come hell or high water, that you will vote in every election that is held in the state of Michigan, regardless of how long the voting lines are and regardless of the weather. Your vote is important. That is why you need to take some water with you and a small stool to sit on. Your vote will determine the property tax we pay, the car insurance that we pay, the housing that is available for seniors, the schools our children will attend. Your vote will determine the number of new job openings, the number of hospitals and hotels in our city. Your vote will determine the policies at our universities and the police force. Never assume that your vote does not count. Voting is the most essential activity that you will ever participate in your life. People have died so you can vote. Elections comes down to voter turnout, so stand in line and make your vote count. I would like for you now to listen to a short speech by John Lewis on voting. Listen to what he has to say and note the passion in his voice.
The Democratic National Convention has gavelled into session on this day 3, beginning about an hour ago. Let's go straight to the floor, where veteran Georgia Congressman and civil rights pioneer John Lewis is speaking.
Or do you want to keep America moving forward? My dear friends, your vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful non-violent tool we have to create a more perfect union. Not too long ago, people stood in unmovable lines. They had to pass a so-called literacy test, pay a poll tax. On one occasion, a man was asked to count the number of bubbles in a bar of soap. On another occasion, one was asked to count the jelly beans in a jar, all to keep them from casting their ballot. Today, it is unbelievable that there are Republican officials are trying to stop some people from voting. They're changing the rules, cutting polling hours and imposing a requirement intended to suppress the vote. The Republican leader in the Pennsylvania House even bragged that his state's new voter ID law is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state. That's not right, that's not fair, and that is not just. And similar efforts have been made in Texas, Ohio, Florida, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and South Carolina. I've seen this before. I lived this before. Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. And we have come too far together to ever turn back. So Democrats, we must not be silent. We must stand up, and speak out. We must march to the polls like never, ever before. We must come together and exercise our sacred right. And together, on November 6th, we will re-elect the man who will lead America forward, President Barack Obama.
For the past 2 months, I have discussed breast cancer in Black women. recently occurred to me that I had not heard from males in the area. Not one man had written or called me for information on breast cancer, nor has any male volunteered to help our breast cancer campaign. This caused me to wonder why. I hope the answer is not that males think breast cancer is a woman's issue. It's not. It's a family issue. It's a marriage issue. It's a community issue. It is an issue that concerns us all. The loss of one member of our community is devastating. Everyone is affected by the death, either directly or indirectly. The death of a parent can lead to angry children and devastated husbands. The death of a parent can lead a child to criminal behavior. Breast cancer is serious business, not just because of the death, but because of the aftermath, the horror breast cancer leaves behind. This is why, as a community, this disease must be fought at all costs by all of us. You have mothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and granddaughters all at risk for breast cancer. Yes, women die of other diseases, but breast cancer is the most insidious disease of them all. I noticed I have not seen one man download the PDF file, Black Women and Breast Cancer, and send the file to any of his female relatives or friends for that matter. Why? You are concerned. So I would like for you to participate with me. Go to https://nisv.info and download the PDF file Black Women and Breast Cancer and send it to 5 of your friends. Also, please sit down and read the booklet. It's filled with information. One of the most important things about the disease is that we understand it. By understanding the disease, we can ask more informed questions of our doctors. Do you know how many people die or are injured each year because they take medication improperly? There is a reason why pharmacists insist on putting warning in our medication. This is why it's important that you learn to read. Medication errors are a problem with people who cannot read or are afraid to ask their doctor questions because they don't want to appear stupid. When you go in to see your doctor, it's not your job to try to impress him or her. You want their talents to impress you. So if you don't understand something, say so, and ask all the questions you need to feel comfortable taking your medicine or understanding your illness. The same with your pharmacist. Ask him or her questions until you feel comfortable taking your medication and you know how to take your medication properly. I received a medication in the mail. I did not know how to take it. I read the directions, but it was not clear to me how to take the medication properly. I was truly frustrated because I knew I was a competent reader. I drove down to the VA Medical Center and asked the pharmacist to show me how to take my medication. The pharmacist didn't say a word, but she came out, sat down, and demonstrated how I was to take my medication. And she discussed the actions the medication would have on my body. I left her knowing more than I did when I arrived. On another occasion, I received a phone call from a pharmacist, and she told me immediately to stop taking 2 of my medication because there was a contradiction. Both medications had been prescribed by doctors, but it was the pharmacist who noted that error. So don't feel stupid asking questions of your doctor or pharmacist. That is their job, to help you with the care of your body. This is why the booklet Black Women and Breast Cancer is so important. It's filled with information. The information is presented in such a way as to make you aware of what you did not know or understand. This awareness should prompt you to ask questions of your physician. All cancers are not the same. This is why family history is so important. The booklet was also written to let Black women know that their cancer can be more virulent and more progressive than others. The book was also written to inspire Black women to become more involved in the research of their particular breast cancer. Who's doing the research? Where is the research being conducted? And how is this research being funded? And by whom? I believe we can have a significant breakthrough with cancer if Black women become more aggressive in funding research. Join us to support our campaign by purchasing a book. See our advertisement. We have great gifts for men. Reasons to read You Are the Prophet of Your Life. 1. This book is not just for Christians. This book is good for people of all religions or even lacking religion. As said on the About page of the book, you don't have to believe in God to read scriptures. Reading the scriptures can help liberate you from negative thinking. In this book, we see how this is true and can learn to fight against this negative thinking ourselves. 2. This book is a great book for feminists. This book talks about the struggles of women put in hard situations. Although it is not recommended for survivors of violence, it is a great reminder of how the world can be to those of us who have been more privileged and lucky. This book shows us the lives of fellow women who've had it tough. It reminds us to be grateful for our fortune and reminds us how this world needs to change. Once we have that in our heads, all of us women can stand together and make the changes needed to better the lives of all women, hopefully forever. 3. This book helps us break away from negative thinking. Negative thinking is what keeps us away from our true potential. If we don't think we can do something, often we won't. The author of this book herself mentioned in her introduction that she almost didn't go through with writing the book because 3 men told her that no one would read it. If we instead believe in ourselves, we can reach our full potential. We can write that book or start that hobby. 4. This book reminds us to stick to our morals. No matter what you believe in something. Something or someone is right and the other is wrong. There are nuances, but you have created those nuances with your beliefs too. The author of this book is clear and strong beliefs and feelings when it comes to what one should and should not do. Even if we as readers do not agree with this, we can be inspired by her intensity. We can learn how to be as strong in our beliefs as well and stand up for the changes we want to happen. 5. This book helps us question the society we are a part of. This book points a critical finger and magnifying glass at our society. It shows us how men and women each fail in our lives and our society. We can see how the author is skeptical of our society, and we can become skeptical ourselves. This is not a bad thing. This keeps us from blindly following something that may or may not match our values and morals. 6. This book helps us take a deeper look into our emotions. You Are the Prophet of Your Life shows us how our emotions affect our actions and how these emotions can get in the way. If we are too loose with how we feel, we can make decisions we will later regret. However, if we are too strong, we can't let in love of anyone, including God. This book helps us check on our emotions by hearing the stories of others. 7. Reading itself is great. Reading is fun. It can also help us better our lives and increase our knowledge of many topics. 8. This book reminds us that we are to be judged by our actions and words. We are what we do and say. We are to be judged on that and not anything else. Just because we describe ourselves as a specific type of person like Christian or atheist, that doesn't make anyone better or worse than the other. The superiority comes from what you do with the life, time, and opportunities we are provided. 9. This book makes you feel. This book uses the second-person point of view of you. This keeps us in the headspace of those to who the author is writing. It makes you feel like the author is talking directly to you, reaching into your soul and letting you know right and wrong. 10. The book provides actual biblical quotes. Actual biblical quotes show you the more direct words of God, which can help religious individuals in their worship and personal relationship with God. It can also help us understand the reasoning behind the author's beliefs and gives her some more authority on each topic. As well, even if you are not religious, you can recognize the historical significance of the text and understand that they are coming from a place of hoping for a more moral world. You should visit touchedbythelight.us and
Hi, I decided that at the end of every show for the next year, I would share excerpts from a book that I believe would enhance your life and make you a stronger thinker and problem solver, all characteristics that will help you win at life and raise stronger and healthy children. Many of you turn your nose up at reading, or you snub the advice that you must read in life to succeed, or you compare the cost of a book to getting a new pair of shoes or getting your hair done or your nails done. The reason why you make these cost comparisons is because you do not truly value a book. A book is a magnificent instrument that can change the course of your life and the lives of your children. In later shows, I plan to discuss with you how a book changed the lives of certain people. I understand that you do not earn a lot of money, and this money is valuable to you because of all the things you see advertised that you desire, and you do not want to spend a lot of money on a book. A new pair of shoes is more valuable to you than a book. If you truly cannot afford a book, then you need to go to the library and take your children with you for a day of reading. You must gird your loins and proceed at educating yourself. Some of you seem to think that having a conversation with your stupid girlfriend or your stupid boyfriend will help you more than reading a book, when actually having a conversation with your loudmouth girlfriend or loudmouth boyfriend is merely a cathartic, allowing you to blow off steam and proclaim how life has been so unfair to you. What you do not realize is that the advice coming from your do-nothing girlfriend or your do-nothing boyfriend is advice coming from a fool. Your do-nothing girlfriend is a sexual opportunist looking for a man she can impress with her body. When her vagina fails her, what will your girlfriend do but go to work at McDonald's or Wendy's at the age of 60 and continue to spread her ignorance at church? Her daughter will be on the street and her son in prison. She will never realize that her life is the result of the decision she made not to educate herself through reading. All her life she felt that she had something better to do than reading. She had something better to do than reading with her children. She had something better to do than working with her children. And that was going to the bar, trying to entertain a man or trying to find some man that would buy her a pair of shoes. A man spending money on her was more important than educating herself. In later shows, I'm going to spend a great deal of time giving you some examples of fools. These are people who think they are smart, willing to trade their body and integrity for a dollar bill. These people end up in the cemetery after lamenting each and every day of their lives about their unfulfilled dreams. Do not be upset by the use of the word fool. You tell me if a woman is not a fool to instruct her grandson to kill her husband for a $25,000 life insurance. Let that sink in for a moment. Instead of instructing her grandson to make something of his life, the grandmother instructs her grandson to become a murderer, to kill his grandfather. I have this anecdotal advice for you about reading. Listen to this short true story. A friend and I were talking. She said a woman she knew called her and sought to renew their friendship. During their conversation, the woman told my friend that President Trump had done so much for black people, and that's why she voted for him in 2016, and she was going to vote for him again in the upcoming election. My friend asked her a question. She said, "Tell me some of the things that Trump has done for black people." The woman said, "A whole lot." My friend persisted and asked her to name one thing that Trump had done for black people. The woman could not. The woman kept using the phrase, "a whole lot of things." My friend said after a while she stopped talking. Finally, the conversation was over and my friend hung up. My friend said, as she hung up, She made up her mind right then that she would never renew her friendship with this woman. Now ask yourself why. Why would she not renew her friendship with this woman? You can answer this question in 2 words. The woman was a poor thinker. She never investigated anything that was told to her. Whether you know it or not, a person who is a poor thinker, who does not examine his or her thinking, is a very dangerous person indeed. Think about it. Today, we are going to discuss the book entitled, You Are the Prophet of Your Life. This is an excellent book to read. It is filled with encouragement and insight into how you should support yourself and how you can advance yourself in life. This is a great read.
Please take a moment to listen to these alarming statistics. According to a recent New York Times article, the U.S. suicide rate surged to a 30-year high in 2015. In fact, in the last 15 years alone, the suicide rate for girls aged 10 to 14 tripled. Middle-aged women saw a 63% increase. And for middle-aged men, the rate grew by 43%. These statistics are devastating. People of all ages and walks of life are unhappy, desperate, and without hope. And the problem is getting worse. My name is Gloria Lee, and I'm here to tell you that there is an answer. You are the prophet of your life. You can control your destiny and shape your future. You can live a better, more fulfilling life. You can change the course you're on. You Are the Prophet of Your Life is a new book that I've written and that I am glad to be able to share with you or anyone you know who may be personally suffering. Nobody needs to suffer in silence. This book will show you how to be the author of a new chapter in your life. It will show you what you need to do to be happy, successful, and sure of yourself and your future. I have found that it's in your darkest hours that you can discover your true self, the brilliant light within all of us that can never, ever be dimmed. You learn how to make informed decisions that will enrich your soul, enlighten your mind, and show you that you have the capacity to make permanent, positive changes in your life. You are the prophet of your life. Many of us live our lives, but few live their dreams. As prophets of our lives, we have the capacity. We can also attain our most lofty dreams. Ask yourself, do you want to have rewarding personal relationships? Do you want to run a successful business? Do you want to raise a beautiful, happy family? Whatever your dreams are, they are all possible if you have the roadmap, the set of instructions on how to achieve these goals. You have them now in You Are the Prophet of Your Life. No one has to live a life of mediocrity, settling with whatever comes their way. This book provides practical guidance on how you can move from just dreaming of having a better life into making it become your reality. Please join me in watching this short video on how you can realize that you really are the prophet of your life. Listen, negative thoughts interfere with the wonderful life you are meant to live. You Are the Prophet of Your Life will show you how to live positively no matter what your current situation is. Don't let problems stand in your way of a happy and successful life. Learn how to overcome even the most difficult challenges you may face. Think of your life from today on as a new building in which you are the architect. You are the builder of the greatest life you can live. It's up to you to determine what course your life takes starting today. Because, my friend, you are truly the prophet of your life. Every day life throws challenges at us, and it's how we choose to handle them that makes all the difference. You can decide the course of your life from today onward. You can be your own prophet. Some of the key messages discussed in the book include being consistent in what you say and what you believe. A problem that most of us are guilty of is inconsistency. We are destined to fail when we allow negative thoughts and beliefs to impact what we say, not only to ourselves, but to others. Being inconsistent in one's beliefs translates to sowing seeds of doubt and unbelief. The famous saying is true that whatever you sow, you will reap. Always endeavor to be consistent in what you say and speak to others exuding faith, happiness, and wellness. Being pessimistic is dangerous. Do you get up in the morning telling yourself it's going to be a horrible day? No matter how bad your yesterday was, it should never stop you from being optimistic today. Being a pessimist is a recipe for suffering. It prevents you from seeing the positives in your life. You must realize that you are in control of what you think. Most importantly, positive thoughts lead to positive actions. Why get up in the morning telling yourself it's going to be a horrible day? Why tell yourself you are meant for the doom and not the fortune? Being pessimistic sets you up for a miserable life. It prevents you from seeing the positives in your life. You must realize that you're in control of what you think. Most importantly, you must always remember it is positive thinking that will make you a better person. The importance of reading scriptures. You don't need to believe in God to read scriptures. There are lessons that anyone can learn and gain inspiration from. Reading the Bible can help liberate you from negative thinking. God's words exude hope and positivity. God tells man that he can look forward to a great life by living righteously and not violating others. Nothing is as powerful as this. The need to investigate your emotions. Being the prophet of your life involves you being in control of your emotions. Investigating our emotions requires self-examination, which for some is painful. Most of us are scared to make mistakes, so we hesitate to make tough decisions. No matter how difficult investigating your emotions can be, you must never shy away from it. When you are not in touch with your emotions, you are destined to live a life out of control. Take control of your life. Taking authority over your life involves you investigating your emotions. A lot of us fail in this regard. Investigating our emotions requires self-examination, which is usually painful. Apart from this, most of us are scared of making mistakes. Thus, we tend to prefer to oscillate back and forth between two kingdoms than taking tough decisions. Irrespective of how difficult investigating your emotions can be, you must never shy away from it. When you do not investigate your emotions, you are inviting others to take control of your life. You are the prophet of your life. A lot of us have found ourselves in threatening scenarios: a cheating husband or a cheating wife, an unwanted pregnancy, extreme poverty, and many others. We were faced with making decisions which could either make us or mar us. While some of us were able to scale through, others weren't lucky enough. Well, it's not that the women that couldn't make it through were foolish or less deserving. Most of the time, they were just unlucky to be victims of the weak belief system of the society we find ourselves. By living positively, you can solve a number of personal problems that could stand in your way of a happy and successful life. Think of your life as a new building for which you are the architect. You can decide how many bathrooms or bedrooms you put in there. Think of your life as a vehicle for which you are the driver. You can decide when to stop or accelerate. Think of your life as a ship on a stormy sea, for which you are the sailor. You have to sail to safety, otherwise the ship will capsize. Only you can determine your course. Only you can decide which direction you want to go. You can liberate yourself. The book, You Are the Prophet of Your Life, was written to help people all across the world to stand and confront the monsters in our lives for the sake of the future of our children. This book takes into cognizance the millions of people in the world who have lost their lives solely because they were poor and were unable to control their environment. If the book, You Are the Prophet of Your Life, has a positive change on just one person's life and saves them from living a life full of hopelessness and despair, then it will have been worth it to me. But I know the impact this way of life has already had on me, and my goal is to share the message with as many people suffering as possible. This book is for everyone, male or female. This is the story of your life, and you are its only writer. Let You Are the Prophet of Your Life be your companion to help guide you through life's obstacles. Let it be the beacon of light to awaken your best you. A Chinese proverb says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You should never be afraid of taking the bold step. You want a change of career at 40? Go for it. You need to acquire a new skill to boost your income? Go for it. You love someone but are scared to tell them? Come on, do it now. No one would kill you for that. It's the story of your life. You don't let anyone else but you be the writer. You can look beyond the facade of whatever despair and disappointment you are currently facing. Don't ever look down on yourself. If you ever have to look down, make sure it's your shoes you're admiring. You need a companion to help you through life. You need a companion to help make your decision-making a lot easier. That companion is, you are the prophet of your life. Read a copy now and live the life you've always wanted. We at Touched by the Light Publishing hope you enjoyed our presentation and realize you can enjoy a more fruitful and fun-filled life after reading You Are the Prophet of Your Life.
Our lessons are viewer-supported. If you enjoy our lessons and they have been a help to you, please send the Women of Courage Show a donation. Any amount will help. $1 will help. Spread our message. You can also go to our website, touchedbythelight.us, and purchase the book, You Are the Prophet of Your Life. We support ourselves through book sales. The book is also on sale at the radio station WHPR 160 Victor Street in Highland Park, Michigan, right off of Woolworth Avenue. If you do not have internet access, you can make a donation to us by mailing it to Post Office Box 7688, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan 48302. Your support will be greatly appreciated. This video was brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. Why not email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com and learn about the programs we have to assist women to fulfill themselves. We welcome women who wish to participate. Surely you have a few hours each month to help us with one of the many programs we are developing. Your expertise will be greatly welcome. We believe that one of our programs, Returning Citizens, The Wall Project, Black Women and Breast Cancer, and Teach Someone to Read, will interest you, where you might volunteer once a month to help us. Our primary function is to assist women in changing their lives for the better. Please email us today at murdervoices@gmail.com. We will appreciate your help. Thank you.
Congressman John Lewis is a living legend and an icon of the civil rights movement. A central focus of Lewis's activism has been the fight for the right to vote, a right that until 1965, generations of African Americans had been denied.
When John Lewis was a teenager, he read in a comic book about what Dr. King had been doing in Montgomery. And he went to his parents and he says, I want to be part of this.
By 1963, John Lewis had helped organize demonstrations and sit-ins across the South. When he was elected chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that same year, he became one of the Big Six leaders of the civil rights movement and helped plan the March on Washington. At age 23, Lewis was the youngest person to speak at the event. But his most defining moment came 2 years later, when he turned his attention to voting rights and helped lead a dangerous civil rights march from Selma to Montgomery.
John Lewis was on the front lines of the 50-mile march, starting in Selma to Montgomery, demonstrating the murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson, a young African-American who was killed by a state trooper, but also the denial of African-Americans' right to vote across the South. If they could get the nation to zero in on Selma, Alabama, a place that had a large black population and very few African Americans who were registered to vote, then perhaps there could be some action.
As activists marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, state troopers tear gassed and beat them. On what came to be known as Bloody Sunday, Lewis himself was severely beaten, suffering a fractured skull. 8 days after Bloody Sunday, President Lyndon Baines Johnson introduced the Voting Rights Act in Congress, and he would sign it into law in August 1965.
Today, we strike away the last major shackle of those fierce and ancient bonds.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was written on the road from Selma to Montgomery. The government responded and reacted to the power of the people.
John Lewis has helped secure the right to vote for millions of Americans. He's been on the front lines of the fight for civil rights for over 50 years. And the last time I checked, he was still fighting.
Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. And we have come too far together to ever turn back. We must stand up, and speak out.
We enjoy your listening to the Women of Courage show at WHPR every Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. And we support your local hairstylist. Do not forget to go to touchedbythelight.us website and download a copy of the booklet, Black Women and Breast Cancer. This is very important information, and we would appreciate it if you email a copy of this booklet to 5 other women.